Hey guys, I hope you're doing well. It's Hikari and welcome back to another video. You may have noticed with the lack of uploads, but recently I've been feeling a bit uninspired with art and I think I'm just going through like an art blocky phase. And I think all creatives and anyone who really makes anything can relate to the feeling of having like a dry period where you're not feeling inspired by anything, you don't feel like drawing anything or working on anything, and when you do, it doesn't look good and it's just a frustrating situation in general. So I wanted to share with you all what I find most effective when I'm in situations like this, which is to focus on inputting instead of outputting. I think as artists, a lot of us focus on outputting and working on the thing we should be working on a lot, which is obviously very important. You're creative because you're outputting, but I think equally as important is inputting and feeding our creativity and just inputting things that we love and things that inspire us, so when we do output, we can refer to those things and be inspired for the outputting. You know what I mean? I hope that makes sense. So for me, I've been recently watching a lot of films and revisiting a lot of books that I enjoyed when I was younger, and that's been really helpful for me to just like focus on inputting, not feel guilty about not outputting for a while. And I've also been replaying a lot of video games. So I wanted to share with you guys some of the games that really inspire me and share with you all what I feel when I play them, what I think about them. Yeah, that kind of stuff. And no worries, there's not going to be any spoilers, so if any of these video games stand out to you, make sure to play them and, let me know what you think about them. And I actually couldn't narrow down this list, so there's 10 games in this list and I separated them into two sections of like newer finds that I really like and like lifetime favorites. So hopefully the first half will get through quickly, but we'll see. So in the first category, the first game I'm going to be talking about is Tangle Tower, which is a mystery game where you play as two detectives going through this Tangle Tower where a murder has happened. And the mechanic is pretty simple. You like go to different areas of the tower, ask questions to witnesses, and collect clues along the way, and then you connect the dots for the final reveal. And I think the mechanic itself is pretty simple, which isn't a bad thing at all. It's actually, I think, a compliment. And what really inspires me about this game is the character design. The character design is really colorful and they're very like shapy, if that makes sense. I'll put a photo up for you guys to see, but the character design is very like stylized and I just really enjoy this character design, and I really appreciate how they didn't go realistic or like fully fantasy. Like they are humans probably, but they didn't go, the realistic route. I think that's really cool. And the animation of these characters is also pretty minimal in a good way. It's just enough that you don't get bored talking to these characters. And I think each movement for the character gives each individual character a lot of character, and this is also shared in the next game I'm going to talk about called Later Alligator. Later Alligator is also a mystery game, but it's a little bit more lighthearted, I think, and I really appreciate like the minimal animation again, just enough to keep you interested in the characters, but not too much that you, I don't know, like someone like me can try animating characters like that too. And I think that's what made me want to work on character designs myself. And in this game, in contrast to Tangle Tower, it's not very colorful, but it's more like monochrome-ish and pretty like serious tone in color, and I think that really contrasts well with the really cartoony style of these like alligators. And I think that kind of contrast is really fun because they didn't lean too cartoony, colorful, vibrant, and they didn't go too like the noir movies. It's like a good balance, and I don't know, I think it gives them a lot of style. And I think even though the story is pretty simple, the dialogue and minigames and the character designs really give the characters like a character. It gives these characters character, and and I just really enjoy this game. And also both Tangle Tower and later Alligator have a large cast of characters, which I realize is something I really enjoy, and they have a family tree, which is also something I enjoy. I think like when I was younger, my favorite book of the Bible was this book called Matthew, because it has a genealogy or a family tree in the beginning, so I really like family trees, and I think maybe that's why I really like Tangle Tower and later Alligator. But yeah, I really enjoy these games, and I hope to make a game like this one day. The next game I'm going to be talking about is a pretty popular game called Unpacking. Unpacking, again, is a pretty simple concept. You unpack boxes and then decorate rooms. And you know, that's pretty enjoyable in itself, but what I really enjoy about this game and what really inspires me is the way the creators were able to tell a really clear story about like growing up, moving on, and you know, growing into your own person. They were able to tell that kind of like very clear story through just objects and unpacking those objects. It really shows the power of storytelling. Like, you don't need to like narrate the whole thing, you don't need text, you just need a good story and a way to show it. So this game was really inspiring for me in that I want to tell a story in anything that I create, whether it's painting, drawing, animation, if I make a video game one day, like whatever I decide to do, I can tell a clear story through that, and I think that's my goal. So this game was really inspirational in that sense. And speaking of games that tell story through simple objects, Season A Letter to the Future is the newest game in this list, I think, and I actually haven't finished it because my computer broke. Well, it's not broken, but it's like, you know, it had to reset and like it erased my I haven't finished this game, so I can't speak to the whole game, but from what I've played, I've been really enjoying it. This game really showed me the importance of keeping track of your memories through like a sketchbook, because as the character you take sounds and photos and physical scraps of objects and stuff like that to put in your sketchbook to keep track of this journey that you're on with your bicycle, and you're going through this world that's like kind of coming to an end, and you're writing this so that the future generation can know what this world was like, or something like that. And this story really resonated with me because through these like leftover objects, you're able to like infer what used to be there and how the world used to look. And I really like details like that, so this game was really cool. And also the whole like message of like looking at things coming to an end with like a lot of hope for the future and just like appreciating what was there is a sentiment that I want to carry with me, and a reason that I want to carry my sketchbook around more. And I don't know, I just really enjoyed this game. You can go at your own pace and you can skip through a lot of areas, or you can, you know, really marinate in that location. So I really enjoyed this game so far. Now we're getting to my lifetime favorite categories. And the first game is Persona 5, which was also in my book inspiration video that I made previously, so check that out if you're interested. But yeah, Persona 5 is just really cool, very stylish. The music, the art, everything is just well planned. The character design to the menu design, like everything is just so stylish, and it's just so cool. Like, I think the contrast of the dark and gloomy realistic stuff that these characters have to go through versus this like colorful poppy style and very upbeat fun music is like very cool, and it really shows the themes of the game. And also, if I can make a story that makes someone feel as much as I felt going through this game, I think that's a job well done. Yeah, I think I can die happy if I make a game like this. The story has a lot of content that I had a hard time going through, but it was really worth it in the end, I think. And I don't know, just the way the story unfolds as you go through it, it's just so impressive, and I think this is an amazing game, really. Yeah. Another game that's great to play is Hades. It's also very stylish, not much else to say. It's very cool, and the character design, the set design, the story, you know, everything is just very cool. I also really appreciate that in this game, the 3D model that you're interacting with and playing with the whole time, it works well with the 2D character visuals. I think a lot of games that I've played previously, like when they do that, the 2D and 3D really don't mesh well, and they look like different characters, or they look really ugly in the 3D model, you know? But in Hades, it works really well, and I think that's really cool. And also any game that like takes a game mechanic as part of their story is really cool. In Hades, you die a lot, like as you're battling, it's like game over, but you dying is part of the story, and you going back to the beginning and resetting is like, you know, pretty important part of the story, and like you don't need to die, you can just go through the game and be awesome and finish it one time through. But you know, the experience of playing this game is very individual for each person, and I think that's really cool. My sister and I both play Hades, but I went through and got to the surface without meeting a lot of characters, and then my sister told me that like she met all these characters and these storylines that I hadn't experienced, so I had to replay the game. And right now I'm really enjoying it, so I'm glad I'm replaying it, but it really goes to show how individual each playthrough is for each person. And another game that's well known for using their game mechanic as part of the story is Undertale. Now, Undertale was a game I played a lot when I was younger, and in middle school it was quite literally my personality, and a lot of my sketchbooks are filled with fan art. But yeah, Undertale I think has a great story. It's crazy that one person was able to like think the story and put it into a video game, like to be Toby Fox. I mean, it's crazy. And I think it's so cool that the many mechanics that gamers have gotten used to over the years, it's part of the story and it kind of works as a plot twist. And also the world just feels very much alive, and the characters feel like they're living in this world without you, the gamer, playing in it. And I think that kind of world building, that kind of character design, it's really fun, and I just really enjoyed the world of Undertale. And without too much spoiler, after the true ending, I actually went back to the very beginning. Like I walked through the entire game world and talked to every NPC that I could find, and they all have a different dialogue that's unique and fits this situation that happens at the end of the game, and I thought that was so cool. The fact that I did that is kind of crazy, but also the fact that the game was ready for someone to just walk through the entire world is very cool, and that kind of detail is what makes the world feel alive, and that's just cool. It's just very cool. The next game I'm going to be talking about is Genshin Impact. You know, there's a lot of haters and lovers of Genshin, but I really appreciate the story that they tell in each world. I really think the game is worth it for the story. And it's really cool how each area, like in the game, you go through different like countries, different areas in the world, and each area has like a one game worthy like story and plot. It feels like there's many games in Genshin, and I think that's pretty cool. And there's a lot of characters that you can interact with and also play as, and it's a very cool game. I would recommend, I think. And now we're coming down to the final two games that I am always inspired by, I always refer back to. They're my absolute favorites. And the first one we're going to be talking about is the Legend of Zelda series, particularly the new series with Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. So right now I'm replaying Breath of the Wild again, and it's so good. Like, I think, no offense, but more so than Genshin, it feels like the world is alive. There's a lot of details with the characters again, just like the Undertale comment. Like, when you go through the world, there's little details that show how the creators were ready for you to like do a lot of things. Like, you have so much freedom in the world, and when you talk to characters, like they remember you from a different quest that you did earlier in the game, and they're like, oh, you saved me from that well. I talked about how cool Tears of the Kingdom is in another video I did called Hyrule Diaries, so check that out if you're specifically a Legend of Zelda fan. But I really recommend these two games. You really should get it. I feel like this world is so alive and the story is so worth it and the game is so good, like the mechanics. Everything is just so impressive in this game. And I think I really, really recommend Tears of the Kingdom, but if you're gonna play Tears of the Kingdom, I really, really recommend you do Breath of the Wild first, because I really believe that going through the story, like, it makes everything worth it and you grow with the characters. And can you tell I really like this game? But yeah, the story is amazing, the emotion you feel is amazing, the mechanic is amazing, the physics of it all is amazing. So yeah, it's just a great game. I really recommend it. That was a very ranty section, I'm sorry. But I feel a lot of attachment to this game, or these two games. You can probably tell. Breath of the Wild, Tears of Kingdom. I love them both so much, and I have a lot of attachment to it. But another game series I have a lot of attachment to is the Ace Attorney series, or Gyakuten Saiban in Japanese. So the Ace Attorney series, I really, really like the Great Ace Attorney series in particular, but also the first 4 games of the original series. If you know, you know. I love how simple these games are in mechanic-wise. You play as a lawyer, do a lot of investigations, collect clues, and at court you figure out what's happening and save your client and, you know, stuff like that. But really what's amazing about it is the story and the characters. Again, I think all of these games, this whole video, I've been saying stories and characters, but I think that's just what this game series in particular is really good at. Even though the mechanic of the game is pretty simple and the animations they use is pretty minimal as well, the story itself is really complex. Like, I do have to admit, some of the cases are pretty but the ones that hit really do hit. And the overall plot of this whole series is really amazing. And you really grow attached to these characters throughout each game, and then seeing how they change and seeing how each case affects them. It's very worth it in the end. As I stated earlier, I think I do lean towards Great Ace Attorney being my favorites because of the setting, and the time period is a time period I'm interested in just personally. So that setting of it is very cool. And I also think because it's 2 games, it's a bit easier to play through compared to how much of the original 6 games should you play. I don't know what else to say without going into spoiler territory. This game series is just really good. It's popular for a reason. And this game series really showed me that you don't need a huge open world RPG or like really complex mechanics in a game to create a good game. And I think that's a theme throughout a lot of the games I talked about today, is that you don't need to make it complicated for something to be good. And yeah, that's it for the list. If you've listened to all of this rambling, I really appreciate you. Thank you for listening. I feel like this video was more so for me to just like rant and organize my thoughts about a lot of the video games I like, but if you were able to take away anything from this video, that makes me really happy. If you would like to share about any video game that you love and are passionate about, please rant about it in the comments down below. I love reading rants or like hearing about rants about things that people are passionate about, so you know, please do that in the comments. And please subscribe if you are interested in keeping up with me. I'm hoping to get back into posting more videos regularly. I usually do art videos, or I talk about things that inspire me, I guess. Yeah, thank you again for watching to this rant video. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Bye!